So you're
It's been
not,
easier.
so you're using the tools and it's working.
Yeah. Yeah. And and yeah, I mean, I don't mind opening up about that, a bit too.
Okay.
Uh
Well, I'm
just
I'm
saying that.
recording. I'm already
Okay.
recording.
Look
So
at you.
yeah, I just thought I'd start. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is really interesting. This is the second time this has happened to you and I, where we got waylaid by technical problems,
Yeah.
and then it got actually the information got more exciting for me. I had more
Mm-hmm.
insights.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Serendipitous.
yeah, I'd say so. So welcome
Interesting.
everybody to Mastering Thought, where we talk about the mind, marriage, and mental health. And today we're going to talk about now or never, unleashing the power of now. And um, there's two concepts we're going to talk about today, which I find absolutely fascinating. And what's interesting is we tried to record this, we had technical problems, and both of us, it sounds like, have had some insights since then.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting.
yeah, I'm looking
Hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
at my audio levels. I want to make sure we're okay. I'm going to turn my mic up just a touch and see what happens. So anyway, what do you have to say in as an introduction before I go start through my slides here? Anything?
Oh, my introduction. Okay. The power of now. Unleashing the power of now. We were just talking about using the tools. I don't know. I guess I don't have anything like jumping
Okay.
out
All
at
right.
me.
So the title suggests that we need to unleash the power of now, doesn't it?
Yes, and I do remember we wanted to discuss what that means because maybe some
So
people don't know what the power of now is.
right. So why does the power of now or the present moment need to be unleashed? Why is now being leashed or restrained? And that's going to be a key idea. So, what is holding our experience back of the present moment? That's that's really where we're going to go today.
Yeah,
So so in other
yeah.
words, here's my little metaphor. We are like fish swimming in the ocean looking for water, and we're surrounded by already by the very thing we're seeking. But here's the
Mm-hmm.
key: a seeker will never find it.
Mm-hmm.
The seeking itself is the problem. Or to paraphrase P.T. Barnum, who said many many years ago, "There's a seeker born every minute." Okay, well you only think that's funny if you know who P.T. Barnum was and
Mm-hmm.
who said there's a sucker born
He's
every minute. But I understand if you go back
he's
and research the history, it actually wasn't Barnum, it was like his next door neighbor or somebody said that. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
He just
anyway.
quoted it. He loved
Yeah,
it.
I guess.
He's not as
So,
charming as Hugh Jackman portrayed him.
yeah, by the way, have you seen Deadpool and Wolverine?
Not yet, but I know you did.
Uh, I'll never get that 2.5 hours back. Anyway, back to the fish. So imagine that we are looking for presence or the present moment, but the very action, the very activity of trying to find presence is keeping us from experiencing it. How ironic is that?
Right.
So so we got to address this. We got to find a way to experience the power of now. And so what we're going to find is that there are two culprits: the thinker and the doer, or the seeker. The doer is just another way of saying seeking.
Okay.
And you're all too familiar with the thinker. You've overcome the thinker a long time ago, many months ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we've devoted numerous sessions on the YouTube channel to talk about the thinker. And,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and just so people, in case you haven't seen any of those episodes yet, I'll put I'll tag one at the end of the video so you can go look. But the idea is, as long as we identify ourselves as the thinker, then thinking is the thing that stands in our way.
Mm-hmm.
And we're controlled by thinking because we believe we are the thinker.
Right.
And so what we do is we take you through the process of disidentifying with thought.
Mm-hmm.
And what you discover is you are the observer instead of the thinker or the awareness that's watching. Do you want to
Yeah.
comment? Because you've been through the process, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's a very encouraging process, I would say, for anyone who's interested in changing their relationship to their thought life. And you begin to start feeling the some of the benefits right away uh,
Mm-hmm.
from doing the exercise. So, if that is something that you want to work on, it's a very manageable first step to take. Totally.
The other thing that happens is when you disidentify from thought no longer stands in the way of presence. Because the first thing you experience when the identification goes away is complete presence.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
if
I
it
think that
almost
kind of
feels
makes
like
sense
some,
about,
huh?
oh, I think that kind of makes sense, some sense of the experience I was beginning to tell you about at the beginning of recording,
Okay.
which I don't mind sharing when it comes to that part.
Interject whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so we're back to the two culprits. So we talked about the thinker, and then
Hmm.
there's the doer or the seeker, and we're going to talk about that. Another way of saying this is the two culprits involve a sense of self or the illusion of agency. Now, let me explain what agency actually means. The sense of being an agent is somebody who's doing something. So the sense of self is a sense of agency where
Hmm.
me, am doing meditation or I'm doing shopping or whatever. It's a sense of me doing something. It's not the actual doing
Hmm.
itself. It's the sense of me as the agent of doing.
Okay.
I know I'm probably not explaining that very well, but I like the sense of agency, because it encompasses the idea of being a self doing something.
Well, and I think about like the phrase I am, and like you can say I am walking, but you can also say I am happy. And I could see like as more denoting a state, a quality of how you are rather than an action. And I could see almost how that
Yes.
could seep into you doing something, you performing a function, like I am whatever, making a bracelet. Like you might think like I, like without this sense of me doing this,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, am I saying that? I know
Well,
I didn't finish my thought, but I.
it's a bizarre concept because you can't actually do happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You have to experience happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to do happiness, then you immediately become the doer instead of the experience of happiness.
Yeah.
In other words, it's like cooking.
Mm-hmm.
You're over the stove, you're cooking, and then the thought comes, I am cooking. Well, now you're a thinker
Right.
thinking about a self that's cooking instead of having the experience of cooking. So I'll demonstrate it in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
getting
really
back
like
to
almost like how people can get lost in something is the sense of being present and
Yes,
is
right.
showing that you're in the moment and
Yes.
uh-huh.
You getting lost in the experience. Well, what are you losing when you do that? You're losing the sense of a self that's having an experience.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the sense,
Okay.
you got it?
That's what I was trying to say. It's like almost like you're in the state of the activity you're doing is I
That's
think what I
right.
was trying to get at.
Right.
So, yeah. So getting
And
out of your mind, being in the state of and just
right.
being there is what, yeah, it's what we're going for.
Yeah, there's no sense of living, you're just living.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's like your dog, Molly. Is it Molly?
Oh, Sunny.
Sunny, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Please please don't tell Sunny I forgot her name. So, okay, here we go again.
It is doing it, but it let me see you and it didn't cut me off.
Well, good.
I
Well,
mean, it paused me.
we're we're having this technical problem we're trying to track down, and it's very elusive.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's go to the next slide here. So, what is the power of now? The power of now is presence. Presence is not an object. You cannot do presence. Presence, as you said a minute ago, presence is a state.
Hey, we're on the same brainwave.
So let me give you another example. What if I told you to be spontaneous? Well, you can't do
uh,
spontaneity, can you?
right. It happens to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
You don't create it, it happens to you.
Mhm.
So this is the doer, where this is the sense of agency. And so here we go. Agency then is the sense of being a self that acts, or the doer.
Mhm.
Okay, why are we spending so much time on this? We're spending so much time on it because this is a huge distinction. Because there are
Right.
all these people trying to do spiritual practice, which you cannot do. The very thing we want is already available to us if we will stop trying to find it. It's very paradoxical.
Well, and I remember we were when we were talking about this, trying to talk about it the last time we recorded, the the idea of allowing that awareness to happen, allowing
Right.
yourself to be in the moment is it's like the lack of action is what gets you to be there.
Or another way of
Passivity.
thinking about it is, what are we doing instead?
Yeah.
Or back to the title, which is, what is restraining the power of now? What's restraining the power of
Um,
now is what we are doing instead. So, what are we
right.
doing instead? What we're doing instead is we're either thinking or doing.
Uh-huh.
As long as we're thinking or doing, we're never experiencing presence.
Mhm.
And you know, and I don't want to disagree with teachers that I absolutely adore and respect, but when they say be more present, you cannot be more present. It's not possible to be present. It's like
Mhm.
being spontaneous.
Mhm.
You can't be spontaneous. Spontaneity just happens. Presence
Mhm.
just happens. It happens all the time. We're just not experiencing it because we're busy doing one of these two things, either thinking or doing.
Uh-huh.
This making
Right.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm really excited for you to share. I think you're probably heading right into it, but I've been really enjoying this exercise that you shared about how to separate yourself from the doer.
Right. That's what we're going to talk about next.
Woo!
So what I want you to do, and everybody that's watching this can do this too. So
Sorry, my dog was starting to get caught up on my Ethernet cable, and
It, honestly, it's the only dog that ever shows up in a podcast. Trust me.
her nose might show up here.
What we need are cats and cucumbers. That's what we need.
I'm so glad you watched those videos.
It's so strange. All right,
Uh,
so here's the exercise, and everybody listening to this can do the exercise too. So what I want you to do is repeat your name silently to yourself and get the feeling of me that goes with your name. So,
and I even like how you gave the example, like, my name is Mark, my name is Mark, my
right,
name is Johan, like,
right.
my name is Mark.
So
I
the
feel
way
like
to,
adding the my name is was what made a big difference for me to get the
okay.
essence.
So, so repeat in your mind, my name is, and whatever your name is. Christina or Mark or Larry, whatever your name is. And then every now and then, put somebody else's name in the stream. Now, what does that do? What that does is it takes away the feeling of me and it helps you identify the feeling of me that goes with your name. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is just repeat your name. My name is Christina, silently to yourself, and then every now and then say, my name is Mark, and the feeling of me will instantly go away because you're not Mark.
Mm-hmm.
So just you try it. We'll demonstrate it for everybody. So
Okay.
when you're doing this, isolate the feeling of me, and when you isolate the feeling of me, tell me. Let me know when you know how to identify that feeling of me.
Okay. All right. I'll just do it out loud. My name is Christina. My name is Christina. My name is Sunny. My name is Christina. My name is Susie.
So
Okay.
you
I have the
notice
feeling of me.
you do. All right, now what I'd
Mhm.
like you to do is do it again. And when
Okay.
you isolate the feeling of me, just step back and look at that feeling. Just observe
Okay.
the feeling, just like we did
Okay.
when we did the thought watching exercise.
All right. My name is Christina.
So when you isolate that feeling of me,
Okay.
just look at it with awareness, and the instant you notice it, what happens to it?
It also goes away.
Okay, so now the question is what's left?
Well, to borrow from the thinker exercise, my awareness.
So all that's left, what most people say when they do this exercise, and I do this all the time in my therapy practice, what most people do is they realize there's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I tell them. You're right. That's who you really are. You are no thing.
Mm-hmm.
You are the
Mm-hmm.
only thing that cannot be located.
Hmm.
And so when the feeling goes away, the feeling of me goes away, then what is left is presence.
Uh-huh. Right.
Okay,
Right.
now this takes a funny twist. But do you want to tell your story first?
Yeah, I've been playing with this exercise for, I guess, a week and a half, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, this last weekend I was able to use it at like a hot springs, like a quiet meditative hot springs kind of place, and that was really nice. And I realized while doing that there was a shift. I don't know if I'd call it an awakening level feeling, but it was like my brain is beginning to comprehend, like, okay, this personality that I've clung to, I'm starting to accept that this is also a thought. Like, I don't need to believe this and cling to this. And so that was a neat experience. But you did ask about my body, and at first I said I was feeling fine, but I'm now remembering when I had the concept of me, it actually I felt a lot of tension in the left side of my torso, and then when I let go of the concept of me, I actually felt like that tension was beginning to let go, and that my spine was having an easier time being straight rather than wanting to like curve, you know.
Amazing. So,
Yeah.
so the what you're saying, I'm going to just say it in a different word, is the
Yeah.
sensation of being a self or a me is a construct.
Right.
It's clearly something we're constructing. Now,
Right.
I have a story similar to yours I'm going to tell in a second, but I want to talk about this other thing first
Mm-hmm.
because this puts it in a weird perspective. This takes a really strange turn.
Interesting.
So, back in, God, I can't remember now, I think in the 80s, there was a researcher up in, I believe it's Berkeley, I'm not sure, named Benjamin Libet. And they did
Mm-hmm.
groundbreaking research where they had people flex their wrist, and they had them connected to EEGs, and they would say, okay, you can flex your wrist whenever you want to. And part of it then was to report when they had decided to flex their wrist. I think it was the wrist.
Okay.
So what they found was, and this is just wild, and I think looks like my slide's a little goofy here, but I'll go through it. Unconscious brain activity precedes conscious decision. Libet found that a measurable brain signal called the readiness potential began 350 to 400 milliseconds before the participants reported becoming consciously aware of their intention to move.
Hmm.
Whoa.
Wow.
What does that mean? What it means is, and I'm just going to round this up to half a second. What this means is the brain initiates activity a half a second before we have a sense of agency.
Hmm. No free will.
There you go. That's instantly what everybody realized. If this
Yeah.
was true, and nobody wanted this to be true, they went, science went
Yeah.
crazy. But this
We
has
all want to be
been.
in charge, right?
We all want to be in charge. Well, first of all, we want there to be a we that is in charge.
Yeah.
So what this proved, in my opinion, I'm just going to interpret this, is that for a half a second there is no me doing anything.
Hmm.
The sense of agency is something that comes along a half a second later.
Hmm.
Well, so let me tell you about my experience. So, or do you have a question about that first?
No, no, I think it's really interesting, but go ahead.
Okay.
I'd love to hear.
All right. So after we tried to record and we had this problem last time,
Yeah.
I was very frustrated. And so, to
Yeah.
make a long story short, I'm thinking about this Benjamin Libet stuff, which I've known about for many, many years. But of course, now
Mm-hmm.
we're revisiting it because we're doing this episode. And I was laying in bed, it's late at night, I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about how frustrated I am. And I
Mm-hmm.
suddenly realize that it's the me that's frustrated.
Oh.
And as soon as I noticed me that was frustrated, it went away and I was completely in the flow of life. I was in the present moment. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized
Mm-hmm.
in that moment that the me is a function of the ego that wants something or that wants to do something. And
Right.
then and there's a constant state of dissatisfaction that goes with that.
Hmm.
And so
Right.
as soon as I became aware of it, just like in the exercise, the sense of me went away and I was completely at peace. And this only
That's so
lasted a
cool.
few seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I was completely at peace, and in that instant, I realized that life was actually living me. I wasn't living life. And that if I would just relax, it's going to take me where it needs to take me.
Mm-hmm.
And the me that I want to
Mm-hmm.
conjure up to be in charge of everything is just going to make things much more difficult.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And it was an
Yeah.
insight.
Wow. When I was at the hot springs, I did notice that it was easier to I think I said it at the beginning, but it was easier for me to take the heavy parts of life less seriously.
Right.
It was able to give me some perspective, and that's been like more difficult for me lately, just because of my health stuff going on
Mm-hmm.
and the way that it also affects my mental health. And I've found that um, working with the this exercise and the thinking exercise has been really helpful for me to have perspective. Yeah, so I can relax and not get too worked up about things.
So what I realized when this happened to me is the me that I conceive of, that I conjure up, that's doing something, that sense of agency, is not real either.
Yeah,
Just like the thinker is not real. And
right,
who I really am is this awareness that's in the backdrop, watching this whole thing unfold, whatever this is. Very
right.
strange.
Yeah,
So
I know, I know. I always get so philosophical at these points. Like, what is happening? Why do
so
we have this?
I want to go through some of the things that you, when you go online and you think, okay, how do we get how do we get into the power of now? How do we become present? Here's
Uh
some
huh.
instructions, and I want to go through them, and you can see exactly what's wrong here. Take a few conscious breaths. Right away, you see the problem, don't you?
Yeah. You're
Focus
not
your.
just breathing, you're doing the breathing.
That's right. Focus on
Yeah.
your inhalation and inhalation and exhalation. I'm not saying that right, am I?
All
This
right.
simple act can help ground you in the present moment.
I will say it probably does use your task positive network and turn off your uh
Yes,
shoot, what was the other one called?
default mode network.
Default mode network. Thank you.
That's an excellent point. But you can see that's an excellent point. So you can see that it can free you. It can
Yeah.
free you from the thinking, but it doesn't free you from the doing.
Right. Right.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
Which is probably why people still receive some benefit from that
You
kind of
can
meditation.
you can see that they're drifting in and out, can't you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the next one,
Yeah.
this is your specialty, body awareness. It says feel your hands. Begin by concentrating on the sensation in your hands. Gradually expand this awareness to your entire body, scanning for
Yeah.
energy. Okay, so you can see right away
Yeah.
that in order to do this, you have to drift in and out of the doer position, don't you?
Oh, wow. Okay, you just answered a decently large mystery for me and why craniosacral is so powerful. Okay, but that's not the topic on hand.
Well, can sum it
But you're
up.
right. That does make the person drift in and out of the doer. And
Right,
so that is why some level of awareness has been possible just by people laying on the table and getting the work done. Got it.
right,
Okay.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's
Mm-hmm,
nice
mm-hmm.
about having your services is they don't have to do anything.
Right. They are
There,
present. I'm
there's
doing it
there's
for
no
them. They'll let
doing.
go. Yeah,
Okay, but you can see the pitfalls in all of these practices.
absolutely. It's better to be able to know how to do it for yourself.
So listen to silence. This is another one. Listen to the silence around you. Okay, so you know this practice diverts attention from the constant chatter of the mind, allowing you to connect more deeply with the present. That's
Right.
true,
Right.
but you also have to conjure up a listener.
Mm,
So there's a hidden trap here. When you pay attention to your surroundings, the voice in your head is silenced, but the very act of making yourself pay attention creates a sense of agency which takes you out of the present moment.
hmm. Almost wonder if phrasing it like for yourself, if you were trying to allow presence, is just like, uh, what is hearable right now? What is feelable right now? Like instead of like, what do I hear? Like if you're really trying to lose yourself and just see what's around you.
Oh, I got something easier and more simple than that.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, let me go through a couple more things here.
Okay.
So we were on silence, right? Now
Yeah.
observing thoughts. So we've
Mm-hmm.
extensively talked about that on the channel. Observe your thoughts instead of
Yes.
engaging with your thoughts, observe them as they arise. This practice helps you detach from the thinking mind and return to the present. It does, except the whole time you're doing this process, you're creating this observer that's looking at your thoughts off and on.
Right. Or becoming aware of the observer.
That would be the trick. Now you're seeing where we're going here. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
one or two more. Oh, one more.
Okay.
This is the one that really drives me nuts. Mindfulness. Incorporate mindfulness into daily activities. Engaging fully in whatever task you are doing, whether it's eating, walking, or working, paying attention to the sensations, sights, and sounds, so you can see that this conjures up somebody who is engaging
Right.
fully. So again, we have this problem with mindfulness where we create someone who needs to be mindful
Mm.
in order to set the stage for mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
So so now I've got a better idea. All of these are good. They all work to a certain degree, but I've got a better idea.
Okay.
So unleashing the power of now means noticing and disidentifying with everything we are doing instead of experiencing now.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is let's go back to mindfulness. What is there to notice and disidentify from?
The concept of engaging fully, maybe, because
Yes,
it should be about letting go, not kicking up, kicking into a gear.
that's right. So yes, you're absolutely on target. So what this
Okay.
means is when you engage fully, it's an act of volition.
Right.
And the very fact of the act of volition means there has to be an agent.
Okay.
And we're already off track. So, what
Right.
better way of doing mindfulness than noticing and disidentifying with the sense of agency?
Okay.
See, we don't actually have to practice mindfulness, we just practice noticing when the agent comes in and tries to steal the show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and I can almost feel it want to like take the reins or like push its foot
Exactly.
on the gas pedal over mine or
Mm-hmm.
something. And it's like
Right.
easier for me to, especially since starting this exercise, to go, I recognize I feel driven to be upset right now, and I don't need to believe that I need to lose it.
So, what you
Like,
just said was fantastic. Let's substitute a different situation.
yeah.
So, I recognize that I need to observe my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Right away, we have to conjure up a sense of agency in order to become the observer.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, what you said is absolutely right. So, this is how to unleash the power of now. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of instead of judging the fact that you're having thoughts or judging the fact that you're not paying attention and making yourself pay attention, why not just notice the sense of agency and the thoughts that come with it as the
Mm-hmm.
very thing that's keeping you from experiencing the substrate of reality that's underneath all that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because as Benjamin Libet discovered in his research, we're not going to, you know, the readiness potential or the potential of being the observer or the mindful one or scanning our body or whatever is something we artificially put on top of our experience after we start having the experience.
Yeah. Wow.
And so the very act of doing spiritual practice becomes, an act of the ego wanting to do something. And that is the trap that keeps us from actually experiencing the power of the present moment, because it has enormous power. It's actually exploding and creating our life experience. But we don't realize that because we've superimposed this ego, doer, seeker, the sense of self, the sense of agency. And if we've already discussed in other videos, the sense of self comes from the default mode network, which is the same network in the brain that produces the internal dialogue. So it's all artificial. It's all false.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Man, and if it's like all false anyway, it's crazy how many ways we can like damage the moment or restrain the moment with, yeah, I guess just not being able to be present, and also realizing that being able to be present also means having the lack of anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
fear, you
Control.
know, grief, I mean, not always, but I'm just saying, like, when they can be a state of mind that you're stuck in, it when it's a funk that you're in, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's preventable just
Well,
by
what do the
this.
great teachers tell you about negative emotions? The great teachers tell you to turn into the emotion, to embrace the emotion, to accept the negative
Yeah.
thoughts.
I just read a great quote today, said, turn your wounds into wisdom.
Right. And so the idea is, what we want to do is we want to do something. We want to get rid of a feeling. We want to escape
Yeah.
from the pain. And the very act of creating that defense keeps us stuck in it.
Right. Right.
So it's all very paradoxical. Oh, you know what we forgot to do?
Hmm.
Oh, I lost your picture.
That's okay. They can just hear me and wonder, where's this voice coming from? Hmm. Yeah, please like and subscribe. We can try to deliver more truth bombs to you if you keep watching our videos.
And if we can help you with any of the concepts you see on the channel, feel free to reach out to us. You can use this QR code. It just takes you to a form, and you can just give us your email address. We'll contact you, or you can put a
Yeah.
comment in the channel. Also,
Jot down what you're interested in. Let us know,
here,
like, if it has to do with thought watching
if
or
it's thought
whatever.
watching or relationships, just let us know. It's all on the form.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested in my books, there's The Dance of the Lion and the Unicorn, which is about relationships, Mastering Thought, which is about thought watching and awakening. And The Dance is also available as an Audible book. So, in wrapping up, what thoughts or insights have you had today, Christina? Anything you want to share?
I think that when something is really wonderful for you and you can give an honest recommendation about it. And I was talking to a friend earlier today, and she's talking about anxious feelings, and it's like, I know that I can be a good friend to her, but I can also, share this kind of stuff with her from my heart because of
Mm,
how it's been helpful to me. And I'm able to um let her choose her own experience easily, but I recognize that, like, I believe in it because of feeling compelled to share.
great. Well, that's a high recommendation. All right.
Yeah.
So until we meet again, like and
I look
subscribe and comment below. We'll respond. Sometimes those get delayed, and I don't realize there's been a comment for a few days. I apologize for delays, but YouTube sometimes holds them, and I have to review them, and I didn't want to, but I have to, and we'll get
Yeah.
back to you as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Thanks for the discussion today, Mark. Thank you, everybody who listened.
All right, you guys, we'll see you the next time.
All right. Sayonara.
Bye bye.